So Ron DeSantis, in his anti-woke crusade, has now decided to effectively ban AP psychology courses in Florida for high schoolers. This is wild, man. So here's a statement on this. We are sad to have learned that today the Florida Department of Education has effectively banned AP psychology in the state by instructing Florida superintendents that teaching foundational content on sexual orientation and gender identity is illegal under state law. The state has said districts are free to teach AP psychology only if it excludes any mention of these essential topics. The AP course asks students to describe how sex and gender influence socialization and other aspects of development. This element of the framework is not new. Gender and sexual orientation have been part of AP psychology since the course launched 30 years ago. So the state government of Florida is responding to this. They're saying, no. We are not banning AP psychology. You are more than welcome to continue to teach AP psychology. However, you are running afoul of state law when you bring up these particular topics. And the responses from people involved at the school is, hey man, this is part of the course. When you're talking about AP psychology, of course you have to bring up, sexual orientation, gender identity, topics around gender dysphoria, topics around homosexuality, etc. I mean, I remember I originally was going to major in psychology before I switched to political science, and I was, deep in those classes. And this is like standard 101 stuff when it comes to psychology. Of course, these are crucial when you talk about this. And so basically, they're taking a stand and they're saying, we're not going to drop these crucial portions from the class to appease you. And so then effectively what we end up with is the ban of AP psychology. Because you can't just drop these parts of it, which are a key part of it. They're a super important part of it. And by the way, guys, look, this is no longer in the realm of debatable, right? Like when you start talking about, hey, what age should you start teaching sexual education? What age should you start teaching about gender identity and sexual orientation and all that stuff? There's a reasonable debate to be had as to when you start that. But here we're talking about high school kids and up, and you want to ban any mention of gender dysphoria, of homosexuality, etc. Look, this is authoritarian. Flat out, it's authoritarian. They don't like the concepts. They think the concepts are degeneracy. They think by teaching the concepts, you are effectively promoting kids to be trans or be gay or whatever. These are bogus notions. And so that's why they're trying to put a stop to it. It stems from, fundamentalist religiosity, from an adherence to traditional values and to the exclusion of even acknowledging the concept of other ways of living. It is anti-intellectual, anti-educational, and kind of pathetic. It's kind of pathetic. Look, by acknowledging gender dysphoria exists, by acknowledging that gay people exist, this isn't promoting any kind of lifestyle. It's a description of reality as it is. But they don't buy that. They think, no, you're promoting degeneracy. You're like poisoning the minds of our kids. And you're basically trying to shelter them and shield them from the world because you just don't like that these concepts exist and that these sorts of people exist. So it's embarrassing, man. I mean, look, we've seen it. Florida ranks number 2 in the country in book bans, in school libraries and school classrooms and things of that nature. We've given you the numbers. Over 1,400 books banned nationwide. I think Texas leads the way. Florida's right behind them. You have the fight recently over AP African American Studies. That was effectively banned in the state of Florida. And now we're adding AP Psychology to that as well. Come on, man. Come on. Anybody who's like, if you consider yourself right-leaning, if you're at all reasonable or moderate or even normal, this is an overreach. And don't give me this BS as like, well, the school should just teach it and drop these important parts of the lessons. No. They should be able to teach it as is and not have state goons jump in an authoritarian fashion to try to muzzle them. By the way, these same people claim to care so much about free speech. Well, you are definitely taking away free speech in this instance and trying to make the course less educational. You're trying to hide certain topics that you don't like. That's like if me, as somebody who's non-religious, said, you know what, I'm banning you from even mentioning Christianity or mentioning Islam or mentioning religion. Right? Like that would be the equivalent if I were to do something like this. That's what it would be. And I would never do that in a million years because I believe in people having a free exchange of ideas and learning about all these different concepts, whether or not you agree with them, by the way. God, he just keeps going further and further Florida's becoming a real hellhole with this stuff, man. I mean, like I said, I think this is embarrassing. And you're also putting kids behind by doing this. So you're going to have, like, nobody who's an expert in psychology come out of Florida now because you desperately wanted to hide from them the existence of trans people and gay people. What a joke. What a joke. I hope this gets resolved. I hope the course comes back in its entirety, but it certainly doesn't look good.